Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Three topics for this video. The first one, some Ukrainians, I would say, start waking up to the reality, face the reality and realize that probably their country will not be the way it used to be, which is the size. And none other than General Zaluzhny, who I have something for him. I don't know, I have a soft spot for him or something. I like the guy. I never heard him saying anything too stupid. So that's the first topic. The second topic, it is a confession coming from the Vice President of the United States of America, J.D. Vance, who says that the US era of dominance is over. So that's again a realization of the new realities. And unfortunately, these realities or this situation was provoked by none others than the Americans. They expanded too much and they realized that they had to face reality, which is face your limits, which is good because you regroup and you start over. And the last topic for this video, we find out that the United States of America switched its existential threat mantra, which is, it's not Russia an existential threat for the United States of America, someone else is, and that is China. All right, so that means Russia is not? No, I will explain, because all these three things have to do with this, with the limitation of the United States of America and the so-called collective West, and with the growing strength of the BRICS countries, and not only. All right, let's start with the first topic. I will use the first article from the New Voice of Ukraine, and it is from May 22nd, 2025. So, drop hopes of Ukraine reclaiming 1991 borders, Zaluzhny says. Zaluzhny is the Ukrainian ambassador to London, to Great Britain. And I think he's over there for two reasons. One, I think he's protected, which is he's in exile. I think he's protected, so he's not like this in Ukraine by Zelensky's group. And I think he's over there as the second echelon. When Zelensky is gone, they will resuscitate Zaluzhny and gonna bring him to Ukraine as the new leader. As I said, I've been watching this for a long time, and I have never seen Zaluzhny saying anything that was, as I said, I don't want to say not too stupid, but stupid at all. And he's Ukrainian. That plays a good, how should I put it, is a plus for me. All right, so this is Zaluzhny. Kiev can no longer expect to liberate all its sovereign territory from Russian occupation, Ukraine ambassador to UK and former commander-in-chief Valery Zaluzhny said on May 22nd. So this is what he said, I'm quoting, "I hope that in this hall there are no longer people who still believe in a miracle or a white swan that will bring peace to Ukraine, restore the 1991 or 2022 borders and usher in great happiness. In my personal opinion, as long as our enemy has the resources, strength and means to strike our territory and launch individual offensive actions, such hope is misplaced." Now, question for Mr. Zaluzhny. Didn't you know this in 2022 or in 2021? Or if you knew, did you say that to the boss, which supposedly is the Ukrainian Zelensky? So yes, in those times the Russians also had the resources, had the strength and the means to strike your territory and launch individual offensive actions. This is a recognition of the fact that they failed. All right, let's go to the next article, which is the same Zaluzhny, saying Kiev can't retake lost regions. Former top general. Ukraine barely has the resources to fight for its own survival, Valery Zaluzhny has said. And again, this is what I already read in the previous article. And according to Zaluzhny, Kiev is locked in a war of attrition with Moscow, and Russia still has the resources to strike at Ukrainian targets and conduct offensive operation. Ukraine faces, and I'm quoting, a tremendous shortage of human resources and a catastrophic economic situation. Under such circumstances, Ukraine can only wage a high-tech war of survival, where it should strive to use minimal resources to achieve maximum results. He said that the country, and I'm quoting, is not capable of waging any other type of war and should not even think about it. So that means you can't have an offensive war. So, as I always said, this guy was the most realistic and decent guy on all those baboons in Kiev, and those baboons were mostly non-Ukrainians. All right, so that's the first topic. That gets me to the second topic, because what we witness in Ukraine is actually the West, the Americans' limitations and willingness to fight, because probably there are some smart guys somewhere in the United States of America assessing the damage. And the damage is eventually we're going to end up using nuclear weapons. Do we want this? I mean, how these guys even contemplated at the beginning of this garbage in Ukraine that they will win? They thought the Russians, I don't know, have no balls or something. They thought Putin's going to start crying and, I don't know, be hanged by his own people. Yeah, that's exactly what they thought, my friends. But the Russians were smarter, and they were prepared for this for a long time. Very well prepared. So that gets me to the second topic, which is this. And I'm quoting from Russia Today, from the 23rd of May, 2025. Era of uncontested U.S. dominance is over. Vance, the U.S. Vice President, has said rivals like China and Russia now challenge American power across key domains, which is economic and military, of course. And not only that, the Americans lost the propaganda war, lost the war of information. I can read the other side with no problem. I don't have to only go and listen to CNN, MSNBC, ABC, Fox News, and other liars. I have the other liars on the other side. So you can verify when these liars are lying, and you're going to verify when those guys are lying. And, you just try to maneuver through garbage. So the same thing, they lost this war on the information. Everybody has a phone with a camera and can record whatever happens. So when CNN comes and gives you breaking news, he said this, whatever he said that, there was people over there in the room that posted immediately online, and people like I or other, like me and others, can have that and give it to you if you did not find it. Therefore, they're going to say, no, these guys are liars. And they are. They lost that power. I don't know how they're going to put the internet genie back in the whatever it is, but they can't. So let's see what these guys are saying here. The era of Washington's uncontested global dominance has come to an end, and that was exacerbated by the garbage in Ukraine. If the Americans would have just sat down and don't push in Ukraine, I don't think the Russians would have ever challenged them like that. But they knew they wanted to challenge Russia. They said, what are they going to do? Because these guys knew that was a big red line drawn by the Russians. And this guy says, what are they going to, is Putin going to wage war against us? That's a good opportunity for us to take his country away. And they failed. It's 3 years and a half. And the Russians are advancing. And they're not in a mood of negotiating on the Americas' terms. Do you think that Trump wants to meet Putin and has these negotiations because he's a good, big-hearted guy? I don't believe that. He might be. I think because he realizes that the war is not going the way they want it to go. And they have other fish to fry, probably in the Middle East, probably in China, and so on. The problem is these guys forged relations while the Americans were busy doing other people's dirty job in the Middle East. I'm not going to mention for whom. Yeah, the Russians, the Chinese, the guys from India, the South Africans, the Brazilians were forging bricks. These guys said, oh, I remember when how the media was portraying here bricks. Oh, let them have it, man. This is nothing. They don't laugh no more. And not only that, militarily, the cooperation between the Russians, the Iranians, the North Koreans, the Chinese, these guys are toast. Are they going to fight with a pussified Germany or with Great Britain? Look who's the defense minister in Great Britain, so-called. Mr. Lemmy, look at his face first, and then listen to what he says. They will not dare to fight, as I said before, Malta, let alone Albania. And that's why they fight proxy wars with others. They wouldn't dare to challenge anybody directly. Tell me when was the last time, I can tell you actually, when was the last time the Brits fought someone one-on-one? It was Argentina in 1978, 79, with the Falklands Islands. That's it. And after that, goodbye, my love. All right, let's go here. Speaking to graduate at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, Vance said that U.S. leaders had assumed after the Cold War that American primacy was assured, and I'm quoting, nor did we believe any foreign nation could possibly rise to compete with the United States of America. But unfortunately, things changed. Vance said that following the end of the Cold War, America enjoyed a mostly unchallenged command of the air, sea, space, and cyberspace. The vice president warned that the global landscape has shifted, and I'm quoting, the era of uncontested U.S. dominance is over. Today, we face serious threats in China, Russia, and other nations determined to beat us in every single domain, from spectrum to lower Earth orbit to our supply chains and even our communication infrastructure, he said. So, that's what they did, my friends. So what's going on here? From Newsweek, the same thing, so you don't think the Russians are lying. J.D. Vance issues new warning. Era of uncontested U.S. dominance is over. That's a good thing, because these guys were delusional. And when you're delusional, you can definitely get knocked out. Therefore, it's better to learn just being burnt a little bit in Ukraine, burnt a little bit with the tariffs with China, burnt with India. You can't kneel it. So, you learn with little burns instead of being knocked out when you think you're tough and all these guys punch you at once and you can't block because you have only 2 arms and there are 5. All right, you might beat on one-on-one all of them, let's say, but they have nuclear weapons, some of them, so that's gone. And that gets me to the existential threat for the United States of America is China. China is the existential threat to the United States of America. CIA deputy director. Remember, they used to say Russia, 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 Russia until they, they did what they did in Ukraine. Now it's China. So they lost in Russia and they moved to China. China was always there, but they didn't want to acknowledge it. Unlike the Cold War with the USSR, the competition with Beijing is primarily along economic lines. Michael Ellis has said China's economic might makes the Asian nation a unique challenge as the US competes with its own global influence. China is, and I'm quoting, the existential threat to the American security in a way that we really have never confronted before. Why? My friends, what's an economy? An economy is based on things that we build and services we provide. That's it. Services usually come after we build things. It's true that, okay, you go to the medic. The medic needs something, a stethoscope, to listen to you. If he doesn't have the stethoscope, he's going to put his ear on your chest and listen to your heart beating. Right? And again, in order to do your job, you need tools. That's manufacturing. Things to live, houses, cars that need energy. If you don't produce anything but weapons and threaten people all the time, how can you deal with someone who says, oh, I'm not afraid of you, you can't threaten me with anything? How about we sit down here nicely and see what you're gonna give me? What do you have to give me? Do you have to give me weapons? I don't need weapons. I have my own, I have the Russian weapons. What else do you give me? Technology? Okay, You don't want to give me technology? I'm not going to give you everything I make that you use. It's an imbalance on things. And the Americans still have, I would say, the upper hand in technology. Or spread technology. Not that the Chinese don't know how to operate it, but they don't have it like here. For instance, I'm going to give you an example. When Americans are building a road or a house, every baboon here has an electric power tool, drill. In China, or Romania, they still fucking use nails and this. Not all of them. I'm not trying to look down on them. I've been to Romania. Here, you rarely hear the nails here hitting anywhere, or screwdriver. So that's technology. The Chinese have it, but not this. Everyone has it. Everyone. And not only that, I'm going to give you examples. Circular saws, bench or table saws. Every little guy, mini, how should I call it? Mini entrepreneur, small business guy in constructions has all the tools. These guys built an American house in no time. In China, in Romania, they take so much time. And then built highways. Tell me how many freeways Romania built in the last 30 years. I mean, look at the Americans. I'm not saying they also have, the Americans did in the system, the highway system in the interstate system in the 1950s with Eisenhower. After he saw Hitler's Autobahn, he said, God damn, we gotta do something about it. But they did it. They did it. And this is a vast continent. They have a power and they have the technology. The other guys have the technology too, but still not everyone. This is what I'm talking about. They have bulldozers, they have excavators. So the other guys, but here every little garbage company has it. Over there, no. And they don't have the big ones, they don't have the fast ones, they don't have the replacing something breaks. Costs too much for those versus this. This is that America still has ahead of everybody else. Everybody else. Now, you can contest that, but the general idea, you can't. Well, you can, I guess. I mean, you can tell me that, I know, the moon is not on the sky if we see it. Thank you very much for being with me again today. So that's with China. China needs what? Technology? They're not idiots, okay? They will catch up, surpass, and they get energy. From where? From Russia. You can't attack China because these guys together will queue up. So they have market. It's a big world over there where these guys can invest, where they can sell their shit. Whereas the Americans, they have to come and sit at the table and compete with their products. The era of dominance and imposing other people taxes, tariffs, and all that is kind of gone. They have their own little neighborhood over there, and you need that neighborhood because you don't produce squat. You don't produce anything. What are you gonna do? Massage each other's wooden leg? Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.